Which TV show started out promising, but turned out to be garbage? Heroes. Season 1 was amazing, but it went downhill fast after that. Save the cheerleader, save the world. They saved the cheerleader once, Dad gave me the Nissan Versa. And I'm done. All these years later and Hero's voice still pops into my head anytime I see a Nissan Versa. Stitchers. Imagine this, a device is invented to see into the last memories of dead people, and an organization uses this tech to solve murders. The woman who has to relive the murders is the daughter of the inventor, who she is estranged from and, I believe, thought was dead. So this chick is solving murders and trying to track down her genius dad. Makes for some gritty drama, right? Wrong. It's a freeform show, so it just devolves into a love triangle between the woman and her male co-workers. I came here for sci-fi crime solving, damn it. I heard someone explain the show once as a great concept, but written by a horny nerd with a wet latex fetish after a season can confirm it is true. What latex, you say? I find a lot of TV shows in this thread follow my Are You Okay? Theory of modern storytelling. The timeline goes thus. 1. The show is created with a particular story it wants to tell. 2. The show becomes popular. 3. The show finishes telling its story but is renewed anyways. 4. Having nothing else to say, the writers turn to soap opera-esque human interest stories. 5. Once a show has its characters saying "Are you okay?" and then having emotionally fraught conversations twice per show, it's over. You can't treat a serialized show as episodic and keep renewing it in perpetuity once the story has been told. Edit. Geez, I log off Reddit to read for a while and rip my inbox. Thanks for the awards, y'all. This is the great, and awful, thing about British television. Would I love a few more seasons of it, crowd? Hell yes. But it is just so great all the way through, and I would hate for that to have been tainted. Just finished Friday Night Dinner as well. There are only 12 episodes of Fawlty Towers. 12. And everyone loves that show. I really liked the first season of Once Upon a Time. I thought the concept of it was pretty clever and kept me interested, and I loved the cast. Then it turned into every mediocre fantasy with bad CGI show and kind of a mess to follow. I couldn't even go past half of the second season. I truly believe it should have stayed a one-season thing. It would have been a nice little show to go back to for nostalgia. It definitely had the potential. Edit. Several of you recommended Fables, The Wolf Among Us, Gallivant and the 10th Kingdom, which sound really neat, so thank you. Thought I'd share for everyone to see. Edit. Also, What in Wonderland is apparently the better show that fits the criteria I described. Thanks again. I can't get over the fact that characters kept switching sides, as though all the work they'd done to build trust and establish relationships was suddenly meaningless, or suddenly the betrayal that the character made a few episodes before didn't matter. They were redeemed by virtue of the fact that they simply wanted to come back to the good guys again. That level of relationship fluidity was so unrealistic that it broke the immersion of the show for me. A show about fairy tale characters come to life. I preferred Regina as a villain. She was much more interesting that way. They did her dirty by killing Robin. I would have been cool with a redemption arc if it had happened once. And the actress was incredible. Honestly, her actress was the best on the show, hands down. She was probably one of the only believable characters on the show regardless of the shitty script she was given. I got tired of how dirty they did Hook and Rumple too. TBH, those two are why I stuck with the show as long as I did. I quit watching Manifest because of Charming and quit watching Watt because of him too. Hess such an awful actor. Riverdale. That shit went absolute bonkers. Revolution. An interesting premise. Our world and electricity couldn't be used anymore, but man, by the last episode it was something else entirely. Man, I was so into the first half season of that show. By the end of season 1 I was already exhausted. I think its biggest problem is that it was written for standard length seasons when it should have been a one-season show or miniseries. The Walking Dead. It had the potential to be such a good show, but I finally gave up like season 5 or 6, which was probably a lot more than I should have given it. Almost every CW superhero show. Flash and Arrow had amazing first seasons. Then they slowly got worse and worse until they were complete garbage. Edit. Damn. Who knew my comment shitting on shitty superhero shows would be my most popular comment, lol. Runs up to bad guy at super speed, stops a foot away from him, pukes him at normal speed. Also, Teresa very high rate of villains running around a corner and then just being gone. Like dude, your whole thing is that you can run thousands of times faster than them, they couldn't have gotten far. The 100 was cheesy garbage, got really good, then ended as garbage. What a ride. The last season was like we've written ourselves into a corner and don't know how to end this. Time to go all crazy shit. Under the Dome, the first few episodes were pretty good, but eventually it got less interesting, more stupid. Designated Survivor. The 100, Season 1 was a bit of a teen drama, but Season 2 and 3 were really good, then the show turned really weird, despite having lots of potential. I was going to comment this. That show had 3 phases. 1. Sci-fi teen drama with a promising idea. 2. Super interesting show with unique twists. 3. Absolute lunacy. Before anyone else can say it, Arrow, I watched the whole series, because I'm an idiot, but as soon as they introduced sci-fi and fantasy elements, the show was going off the rails. The first 2 seasons were a gritty, realistic take that drew inspiration in equal measure from the Dark Knight trilogy and Mike Grell's run at the character in the 80s and 90s. No magic, no gadgets, just a mean guy with a bow. They introduced the Flash and the Lazarus Pits and Damien Dark, and it just kept getting worse and worse. I actually liked Arrow, but it definitely gets weaker and weaker as time goes on. Pretty Little Liars. It started as a fun concept and fun show to watch. The writing and plot line went downhill within the first few seasons. It became repetitive and all over the place. I still refuse to watch the last season because the writing became terrible. And can we all agree that the Uriah Ezra plotline was so gross, unneeded, and inappropriate? I think most people will tell you Game of Thrones was great until the last season. The first 3 seasons of Arrested Development was great. Misfits. Nathan leaving started the decline, and when the last of the original 5 when it was dead in the water. When the milk guy cripples Nathan, that was some of the darkest shit I had ever seen on a TV show to that point. What a unique show. Didn't see it here, but True Blood. First 2 seasons were good, but something happened where it just became an absolute dumpster fire. I think the big turning point is when they introduced fairies. It just didn't really feel like it fit to me, and it's about the time the show stated to go downhill. On a side note, I would kill for a prequel about Godric and Eric at various points, though history. I thought Godric had such wasted potential, one of my favorites characters to barely appear in a series. Prequel, but just Pam and Eric bitching at each other while they run that video store in the 90s. The first season of Firefly was amazing. I just can't watch any of the seasons following. How to Get Away with Murder. So much potential initially, but it all dissolved into nonsense and elongating the series for absolutely no reason. Such a shame. It was very clearly a show with a formula that they stuck with way too hard. It's one thing to have a similar plot, it's another thing to literally copy-paste every plot point at the same point in each season 5 times in a row. I agree so strongly with this comment. I remember at some point in season 3 I turned to my housemate and said, do they know that they don't need to keep murdering? It would have been a perfectly enjoyable drama without tying every plotline to an unnecessary murder. Wayward Pines was excellent the first season and dogshit the following season. Season 1 is based on the books, and season 2 just couldn't replicate the greatness of the first season. They should have just made it a 1-season thing. Altered Carbon. Loved the first season but really didn't enjoy season 2. I mean, the second season might as well have been a completely different show. Oh, Weeds, duck that fucking program. Should have ended it when they left Agrestic. That's the exact point it all went downhill. It's a great concept of a suburban soccer mom selling dime bags. I didn't sign up for a cartel show and then it just never found a good storyline again. You didn't enjoy Nancy competently ducking her way into problems? Hey, she also continuously ducked her way out of problems. The 7 Deadly Sins did not stick the landing. Also, the Blacklist once they got away from the killer of the week format. The Blacklist was great for like a couple seasons and then you realize the writers literally had only one plot twist that they kept twisting and untwisting, and I just got tired of the exact same ducking story 100 more times. Hess her dad. Hess not her dad. Hess her dad. Hess not her dad. Snip snap, snip snap, snip snap.